Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 68 of The Clutch Dump. I'm Nicholas Patty, joined by Ben Walther. We're coming at you with a motorsports episode that does not cover like the three biggest series that we normally cover.
20 years of trying, 20 years.
And Senna sprints away.
Down the straight, Rossi's right in behind Lorenzo.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 is won by Takuma Sato. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
This weekend's motorsport recap is only, really, 2-3 series. Moto GP, SRO, and NASCAR. And this weekend was actually a nice little respite, I think, from the normal motorsports that we're used to watching. Because I got to lay back and watch, not more casual, but I was less interested in the sense that I didn't have people I'm always cheering for. I just got to observe it because it's motorsport. And
simply enjoy motorsport. That was all.
I think that is the message of this episode, is simply enjoy motorsport for a lot of the fans out there. But before we get into what happened, what didn't happen, what we were glad that happened, and what didn't happen that we wanted to have happened, we'll go with it.
Something like that.
You can find us on Instagram at The Clutch Dump. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hello. You found us. But if you are not watching on YouTube, you can find us at The Clutch Dump Pod. Obviously, our logo is the same, so it's pretty easy to find us. And
Super
then
simple.
Make sure to, if you're listening to this, follow us, subscribe, rate the episodes on any of the podcasting platforms. With that said, Ben,
Yes.
of the racing, what events did you watch?
I watched everything except for NASCAR.
Okay, I watched
Pretty much.
Feels good. Feels good to be the guy that actually watched everything.
Well, as far as Fanatec GT, I watched race 1 of Okayama and race 2 of Road America.
Okay,
So,
we were the opposite. Oh,
all right, perfect.
Yeah, no, same actually. Race 1 of Okayama, race 2 of Road America.
Yeah, I watched like half of Okayama and then I switched off. And it was like fantastic. I love that track. I'm super unfamiliar with it. It's super cool. It's a good track.
Awesome.
I know nothing about that track or that series that's run over there. As far as driver lineup or anything like that. I'm much more familiar with the American race that happened. Some of those drivers crossed over that I was familiar with, but it's GT racing. It's always going to be good. It's always interesting. So do we actually want to run through results on those, or do we just kind of want to go over some highlights that we saw from those? You're in charge.
I'm actively pulling up the results for Okayama. Is this
Maybe? Question mark?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So I'll just run through these because I have it up. I'm not going to run through all of them because there's over 30. I'll just do top 10s.
Yeah, go for it.
So in 10th, in the R&B Racing Porsche, we had, and I'm going to butcher some of these names, I apologize, Wei Lu and Patrick Pile, who you'll recognize. In 9th, we had the Audi Sport Asia Team Absolute car, the Audi R8 of Jingzu Sun and Frankie Kung Fu Chang. In 8th, we had Porsche Center Okazaki, obviously, in a GT3R, with Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamamura. In 7th, we had the Habato Racing with GTO 911 GT3R with Brian Lee and Hideto Yasuoka. In 6th, we had Car Guy Racing's Ferrari 296 GT3 with Takeshi Kimura and Kai Cozzolino. In 5th, we had Audi Sport Team Asia Absolute in their second car with Andrew Herianto and James Kwai Yu. In 4th, we had the 888 JMR Mercedes AMG GT3 with Prince Abu Bakar Ibrahim and Mikael Grenier, who you recognize from European Fanatec. In 3rd, we had the, I don't even know how to say it, but it's a really famous brand, so I apologize. We had a Nissan GTR Nismo GT3 with Hiromon and Shintaro Kawabata. In 2nd, we had the AAS Motorsport by A Absoluta Racing 911 GT3R with Alessio Piccarello and Vutakorn. Not even going to try, but it's INHRAPHUVASAK.
I wouldn't have tried that at all. I would have done the same thing.
But Vutakorn, I can say his first name. And then in first place, we had the Craft Bamboo Racing GT3 Mercedes of Anthony Zhu Liu and Daniel Juncadella, who you'll also recognize from European GT3. In race 2, our top 10 looked like this. We had another Craft Bamboo Racing Mercedes AMG, but it was with Jeffrey Lee and Maxi Goat, who you'll again recognize from European GT3. Ninth, we had the Climax Racing Mercedes of Biwang Zhou and Dennis Lind, again, another Audi driver from Europe. In 8th, we had the Plus with BMW M Team Studi with Tomohide Yamaguchi and Seiji Ara. In 7th, we had the Habuoto Racing GT3R of Morris Chen and Alvaro Parente, another GT3 driver that if you watch American or European GT3, you'll recognize. In 6th, we had Team KCMG in the Honda NSX GT3 Evo with Paul Kung-Ching Ip and then Eduardo Liberati. In 5th, we had Absolute Racing GT3 Porsche of Jinlong Bao and Matteo Cairoli. Again, another. 4th, we had the Race 1 winners of Craft Bamboo Racing with Anthony Zhu Liu and Daniel Juncadella. In 4th, we had the R&B Racing Porsche with Wei Lu and Patrick Pile. In 2nd, we had second place from race 1 as well in a Porsche GT3, Alessio Picciarello and then Vutakorn. And then in first place with the Mizawa Racing Ferrari 488, not the 296, but the 488 GT3 Evo, Pitti and Naoki Yokomizo. The last name of the first guy was BiromBhakdi. So again, not even a try. But
wouldn't try with that one.
Those are your top 10s from both the races in Okayama. And Ben, I'd love to hear your thoughts outside of the track. But it was close, hotly contested racing for most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've ever watched a GT race that was bad. If it ever was bad, it's just because there were safety cars every 20 minutes. This one was particularly good, especially race 2, because you may have seen it on the socials. If you follow Fanatec GT World Challenge on there, or just motorsports in general, you may have seen that 6th place car in race 2 being pushed across the line. That car was actually running first in the race. They were the race leader, and then coming into the last turn ran out of gas and basically coasted as far as he could. And then I can't remember.
I think it was GT4.
Okay. Yeah, so it's always fun to watch GT racing. It's always good. Do you have results up for Road America or no?
I'm pulling them up, but I'm confused because it said in race 2 that George Kurtz won, but wasn't he the driver that rear-ended that other Mercedes coming out of the carousel?
I don't know.
It was George Kurtz, I thought. So I don't know if these are... It's Road America 2023.
Race 2?
Yeah, race 2. Let me go... They have 2 different rounds, so let me go to the other round.
Possibly.
Huh? Well,
stand by.
Yeah, stand by. Yeah, it says he won both, so I don't think those are correct. So we will have to forego the...
We'll have to forego the Road America race, sadly.
But if you're on social media in the motorsport scene at all, you will have seen the accident coming out of the carousel where Mercedes, that was a backmarker, had lost it, rejoins the track, and then gets promptly obliterated by another Mercedes GT3 car. The Mercedes GT3 car that came out of the carousel was George Kurtz.
Yes, and it was the leading car.
He was leading, but yeah, he certainly did not win the race. So that's why we're not going to read those results, because I just don't know how accurate they are. So
we don't want to give bad information. But yeah, as always, Fanatec GT World Challenge, always a fun way to watch some motorsport on the weekend. Nick, do you want to go through your news bits or NASCAR, or do we want to go to the two-wheeled news?
So let's do GP.
MotoGP.
This GP race was a sensation if you're not someone who watches just for whoever wins.
Yes. So this past weekend we had MotoGP at the Red Bull Ring, and it was, as Nick said, a fantastic round.
Which I've never seen MotoGP around Austria. Like, it just hasn't been one of the races that I ever remember watching. I may have, but I don't remember it. This is so much better for MotoGP than it is for F1.
So I've watched, I don't know, I've kind of watched all the races since I started following GP 4 or 5 years ago. But Red Bull Ring is always an exciting race. They updated the track for this year.
Okay.
So there is now a chicane between turn 2 and 3.
Hasn't it? I thought it had been that way, though.
Well, it wasn't always that way.
Okay.
They added that, I don't know if it was this year or last year, but in 2021, there was some guy racing for Yamaha. I think his last name was Rossi. And possibly, can't remember or not. But there was another guy racing for Yamaha. His name is Franco Morbidelli. And he had a very terrifying accident going out of turn 2 into turn 3.
Yeah, I know the accident. Yep.
Okay. And it's, if you haven't seen it and you're not terrified of motorcycles already, just go look up Franco Morbidelli 2021 Red Bull Ring crash, and you will see what is the closest near-death accident I have ever seen in a MotoGP race. There is a bike mere inches from Valentino Rossi's bike. It goes flying right in front of him, barely threads the needle. It is one of the most terrifying accidents I've ever seen. I assumed that they were going to pull Red Bull Ring from the calendar altogether after seeing that. But thankfully they didn't. And I believe after that is when they made that update, so it forces you to go a slightly different way. Before we get into results, we do have some news bits because we have had some silly season bits because we are off of summer break. Not the silliest of seasons, but, you know, before we get to the race, there's some stuff we should talk about. So Alex Marquez extended his contract to stay with Gresini for 2024. No big surprise. He's their best rider at the moment. Brad Binder extended his contract through 2025, which is a surprise to no one because Brad Binder is consistently on the podium. He's fighting for wins. He has taken it to Ducati on the KTM, so it is no surprise to anyone that he has extended his contract through 2025. I found it very funny that when this news, quote, broke, MotoGP put out a big thing, and it's like, breaking news, Brad Binder extends his contract. It's like, it's not breaking. He just extended. Everyone saw that. It would have been breaking news. Brad Binder doesn't extend his contract.
One did breaking news. Charles Leclerc extends his contract. Like, it is breaking news because it is it does affect the world of MotoGP or F1. But
yeah, it's like every year when they're like breaking news, Lewis Hamilton re-signs, and it's like, yeah, duh, you know. Like it's you can put breaking when it doesn't sign, when something drastic happens, when it's no longer the norm.
Fernando Alonso got hit by a motorist while he was bicycling.
Yes, breaking should be for breaking news. So Brad Binder extended his contract, but the silly season kicked off when Franco Morbidelli, who I just mentioned, announced that he will be leaving Yamaha at the end of 2023. This is not a big surprise to anyone. It kind of sucks because I really do like Franco Morbidelli. He was fantastic. He was challenging for a championship in 2020.
Yep.
If you remember the MotoGP season that everyone seems to have forgotten. It's that weird point in time between all the Marc Marquez championships and everything else. Yes.
It's that weird time in between Rossi fighting for wins and his retirement. That window of...
Yes, that weird gray area that everyone forgets. Because there's an area where it's like, man, Rossi's the best, and then it's like, man, this dude should retire. There's a weird gray area. That's where Franco Morbidelli...
There's this is how MotoGP is, right?
Yes.
Man, Rossi's kicking ass. He's winning everything. Man, who's this rookie, Marc Marquez? Man, Marc Marquez is kicking ass and he's winning everything. And then there's like a 3-year period. It's like, where the fuck is Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi?
Like, where did they go?
Yeah, they just gone.
But so 2020, Joan Mir won the championship with Suzuki,
which is just
and
like good for Suzuki, but
right.
Nobody took Suzuki seriously. And it was shock when like Alex Rins in the late 20-teens was
right
on a podium, and it's like, holy shit, he took like the equivalent of a Williams and he put it on the podium.
Right. And yeah, it kind of sucks that no one talks about it because I think Joan Mir is going to continue his career. because as of right now, he is continuing with Repsol Honda on the factory bike. I think he's kind of going to continue his career, and like everyone's just kind of forgotten that he's a world champion. Like no one talks about it.
I didn't know champion until literally 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, it was COVID, so no one could go to the races. So like it's like the least watched MotoGP season ever. And it was Joan Mir and Franco Morbidelli going back and forth for a whole season. So he came second, and then he missed several rounds due to a knee injury, and then came back and kind of just hasn't been the same since, which really sucks. He was the first.
It's about coming back from an injury and not being the same.
It's amazing. It doesn't. Also, Enea Bastianini at the moment. It's not. It doesn't work.
About 125 pounds, and you break half the bones in your body. Shit might change.
Also, you are participating in the most physical motorsport that exists, so that doesn't help. It's true. Don't deny it. Shut up. So
I don't know. I feel like rally is, even though you're in a car, you're taking a beating.
Yeah, no, that one might be more painful. I don't know. I've raced a motorcycle. I've never driven a rally car, so we'll see. What?
Listen, I don't tell people I race.
I have been closer to racing a motorcycle than I have to driving a rally car. Therefore, from personal experience,
so because you're
would you disagree with that statement?
Because you're more like Marc Marquez and less like Sebastian Loeb, you're now
sadly. It's true.
Sick turn, get roasted.
No, I just would rather have a rally car than a motorcycle, but whatever.
You would rather you have that, but hey.
Yes.
It's all right. It's not like you could build a 944 rally car, but...
Anyway, I'm working on it. Anyway, coming back to this, Franco Morbidelli is leaving Yamaha at the end of 2023. Then Alex Rins said he is leaving LCR Honda. So he made the move from Suzuki to LCR Honda for this season after Suzuki went bust. He had a contract through 2024. He's breaking that contract, and he's going to replace Morbidelli at factory Yamaha. He will be alongside Fabio Quartararo. That leaves a seat open at LCR Honda, which is going to be filled by Johan Zarco, who is leaving Pramac Ducati. I don't know why anyone would leave a Ducati seat right now, but he's leaving Ducati to replace Rins at LCR Honda. To be fair, in Zarco's defense, supposedly LCR Honda gave him a 2-year contract and doubled his salary. So, makes sense. Also, he got his start in MotoGP at LCR Honda when he made a special appearance in 2018.
In the long run, winning races, and you can't do that on a Honda.
Yeah, but he's not doing that on a Pramac either. You know, Johan Zarco has never won a race in MotoGP, ever.
Are you for real?
He's never won one.
Superbike that he won a lot in?
Yeah.
Okay.
He might have won one race in GP last year. But, like, he doesn't win races. He gets podiums. He doesn't win. So,
well, he's not LCR podiums now on Honda.
Yeah, but he gets a lot more money, so whatever. He's also old. He's like 34 or something, 35. He's old for a GP rider.
Retirement age people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So as far as official silly season, that's all we have. Other silly season news that could be coming down the pipeline. Taka Nakagami has a contract with LCR Honda that ends at the end of 2023. He's not doing well. Hasn't been doing well for a very long time.
I don't remember doing well.
So, but pretty much that second seat at LCR Honda is reserved for a Japanese rider, I should say. So currently Taka Nakagami fills that hole, but his contract is up at the end of 2023, so that could change. However, the one that we are predicting could happen is Augusto Fernandez could make an early leave from the satellite KTM seat.
Huh.
Yes, because his contract is up at the end of 2024.
Okay.
But I might have mentioned it earlier in the podcast, several episodes ago.
Oh.
Pedro Acosta, who is the 2021 Moto3 world champion, his manager came out and said, did kind of an Alpine move.
Oh.
Came out and said that Pedro Acosta is committed to riding for KTM and MotoGP.
I understand.
Consent.
consent.
And yeah, basically that. So basically what he did was they put the ball in KTM's court, and it's like, he's committed to them. If they're not committed to him, he'll go somewhere else.
Right.
You know, he'll go take a Ducati seat or whatever. Because here's the thing about Pedro Acosta. He's the 2021 Moto3 champion. In 2022, he finished Moto2 in 5th. This year, he's currently leading the championship. He's finished 2nd, 12th, 1st at COTA, 2nd, a DNF, 1st, 3rd, 3rd, and 2nd. The kid is 19 years old. He is incredibly consistent, and he's very young. So I don't see why KTM wouldn't pick him up. Actually, so Augusto Fernandez is the current rookie on the Gas bike. It's the satellite KTM bike. Is the current rookie on the Gas bike. So rumors are that he's going to be replaced. He's going to get the boot early. I actually think that Paul Espargaro could leave early. So Paul Espargaro came back after missing a majority of the beginning of the season due to an injury. I think he could kind of do an early retirement thing, maybe go race Superbike for a couple years, retire as in ushered out with a large check. And then they'll bring Pedro Acosta in, because the problem is if KTM doesn't jump on Pedro Acosta, he will get a Premax seat or a Gresini seat or something like that. Someone else will give him money. The kid is an amazing talent. And I can't remember how it works, but I think if you win a Moto2 championship, you're not allowed to race in Moto2 anymore.
Interesting.
I can't remember. I heard that somewhere. I could be wrong. I don't know. I really need to follow Moto2 and Moto3 more.
Yeah.
But I heard that somewhere. So if he wins this year, he's not allowed to race in Moto2 anymore, so if that's the case.
Moto3.
So back to Moto3, or he's going to go get a World Superbike seat.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like right now World Superbike is a feeder series for MotoGP.
No, I would agree. A series and a retirement series. It's like the young kids come up and be like, hey, I saw you race when I was a kid. And the MotoGP career of their heroes already happened.
Yeah, it's a weird bridge. It's like, okay, did you either not get a GP seat, so you went to Superbike, or someone else took your GP seat, so you went to Superbike, and then it's a weird bridge thing going on.
Interesting.
But Pedro Acosta currently leading the championship, not by much, by like 9 points. It's a very close race.
Yeah.
So that'll be something to watch.
Even if he only gets second in the championship, I mean, hell, you don't have to win everything all the time. His results.
Yeah, I mean. So the kid is incredibly consistent. He's definitely a talent. But he's young, so I think they're going to try to get him on a bike soon. I'm going to run through your results from this past weekend's Red Bull Ring race. I'm going to run through the sprint race first, where on the top step of the podium was one Pecco Bagnaia, followed by Brad Binder, who I mentioned earlier, who, with no question, extended his contract. Jorge Martin finished third. Now, something to note about this. There was an extensive amount of bowling going on during the sprint race.
And no, not the go bowling race at Watkins Glen. Actual bowling with humans and motorcycles. Right. So, Jorge Martin, where did Jorge Martin qualify? He was starting way back there. Jorge Martin started 12th. All right, so he started 12th for this race. And he basically decided he's going to be the last of the late breakers going into turn 1 of the Red Bull Ring. Late breakers, Ben, means not braking.
Right. Like break as in after everyone's done braking kind of thing. And if you're unfamiliar with the Red Bull Ring, trying to be a late breaker into turn 1 is kind of like trying to be a late breaker into turn 1 of COTA or Spa. Yeah. It's a very tight turn. It doesn't work. Someone's going to crash. And in the case of this, 6 people are going to crash. So Jorge Martin goes in. Basically, he bumps into Quartararo, who bumps into Zarco, who bumps into like a bajillion other people. And it's this crazy domino effect. And he takes out a bunch of people and ruined 5 people's races, let alone all the people who didn't crash but had to run way off to avoid running over people.
Johann Zarco went in, or everybody went in. Johann Zarco came out.
Yes. So let's see. It was Zarco,
Jorge Martin, right?
Yes, Jorge Martin was the one that caused the crash. Fabio Quartararo and Enea Bastianini are the 2 riders that went into that crash and then made it out. Yeah. Actually, so the controversy about that is he had that accident, and then later in the race. Context, important bit. One of the riders that went down in that turn 1 crash was Marco Bezzecchi. who was second in the championship and was in front of Jorge Martin in the championship. So Bezzecchi goes out into turn 1. And then later in the race, in the sprint race, not the full race, in the sprint race, he gets into contact with Luca Marini, the other Mooney VR46 rider, and has contact. Jorge Martin, totally fine. Luca Marini goes down. So 2 accidents ruining several people's races.
I'll call him Joey Logano in Indianapolis.
Quite possibly. And he was given one of the easiest, softest penalties I've ever seen. He was given a long lap penalty. It happens. It's just an incident. It's okay. No, he could have killed people. So, race ban. Thank you. Anyway, Jorge Martin, 3rd place. Alex Marquez, a fantastic 4th place from him. Jack Miller, 5th, despite starting 2nd. This is kind of Jack Miller's thing we're figuring out on the KTMs, is he can qualify well, he can start high, and then just slowly starts dropping back.
KTM either. It was Ducati as well. He won Ducati.
Yeah.
Won occasional race, but it was like Jack Miller and Pecco Bagnaia starting 2 of the first 2 on the...
starting 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, oh my God, Jack Miller finished 7th. What happened?
Yeah, it's... I don't know what it is.
Oh, I think I know. They're Aussies. Upside down.
Upside down.
Like, I need to race to the bottom.
You're supposed to go forward, Jack.
Up.
Up, yep.
Down.
Not down. There we go. We figured it out.
Well.
It's that simple. So Jack Miller 5th, Paul Espargaro 6th, despite the fact that I said he should retire, actually put in a very impressive result on that Tech 3 KTM. His brother Aleix Espargaro in 7th on the Aprilia Maverick Vinales, his teammate in 8th. The Aprilia boys looking fantastic over the whole weekend. Franco Morbidelli, who was leaving Yamaha, finished 9th ahead of Marc Marquez. Fabio Di Giannantonio was 11th. Joan Mir was 12th on the other Repsol. Enea Bastianini, finally back after all of his surgeries and such for the 3rd race in a row, came 13th. Raul Fernandez, 14th. Fabio Quartararo, 15th. Iker Lecuona was 16th, replacing a very damaged Alex Rins after the British Grand Prix, who broke his leg, and Augusto Fernandez in 17th on that gas. That is the last of your finishers. Johan Zarco, Luca Marini, Lorenzo Savadori, Taka Nakagami, Marco Bezzecchi, and Miguel Oliveira all did not finish the sprint race. Moving on to your main race, if this will load. And starting from the bottom, we have Miguel Oliveira, Joan Mir, and Raul Fernandez are your non-finishers. Iker Lecuona finished 20th for LCR Honda. Lorenzo Salvadori was 19th. Taka Nakagami was 18th. Fabio Di Giannantonio 17th. Paul Espargaro, not as great of a result, finishing 16th. Jack Miller, 15th.
After he started.
2nd. Augusto Fernandez, 14th. Johan Zarco down in 13th. Marc Marquez, once again, not having a good season, in 12th. By the way, his last race... this was his first points finish since...
last year. It was October of last year.
October, that's what it was. I could remember which... It was October of last year.
Seeing Marc Marquez's downfall it is 2nd on my list of happiness of seeing someone not perform, only behind Lewis Hamilton last year.
Yep.
Where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, you just suck it. How does it feel to not be winning? You goddamn, like,
I don't know why you hate these people so much. I like both Marc Marquez and Lewis Hamilton.
Here's why. Because, 1, they dominated the sport.
Yeah, so?
Marquez ruined Rossi's career. If it wasn't for Marc Marquez, Rossi would have had 3 or 4 or 5 more championships. Like, not even a question.
Still, no one will ever beat that record.
Well, Marc Marquez is 1 championship away from doing that.
Okay, but if you look at all of the records, he's like 130 pole positions behind him and like 200 podiums behind him. Like, he's way... If you look at more than just the championships...
Going back 4 or 5 years ago, before not just his first injuries, but like the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th.
Right.
He was on par to beat those. He was on par to
he was.
And he would have had a longer career than he currently has.
But he's very fragile.
But he's a wee little Spanish man. But
yes. as they all are.
It's like this. Same thing with Ronaldo and Messi. Like Real Madrid winning the Champions League as much as they did.
There's no wheels involved in those sports. I don't know what you're talking about.
And I'm a Juventus fan. Just all of my childhood motorsports heroes have been. I just said automotive heroes have been second to like once in a lifetime talents. Fernando to Lewis. Now, granted, Seb really ruined Fernando's career, but that's fine. So Fernando, we have Valentino Rossi, we have Juventus, Real Madrid, but it's just annoying. IndyCar.
I'm quite upset that Marc Marquez is doing this badly. I'd like to see him do well.
No.
But I do think
and break his collarbone.
I do think that Marc Marquez does need to do better, but sadly, I do think that this is starting to see the end of Marc Marquez. Franco Morbidelli finished 11th, and Bastianini 10th. Good result from him. Aleix Espargaro 9th, Fabio Quartararo 8th. Jorge Martin finished 7th. Maverick Vinales moving up to 6th. Alex Marquez 5th. Luca Marini 4th. Marco Bezzecchi 3rd. The revenge for the Mooney VR46 boys. There was a very happy little Valentino Rossi there. Brad Bender came 2nd once again, and Pecco Bagnaia came 1st once again.
Did you see the rear wheel lift that I think it was Marini did when he came around to celebrate?
Outstanding.
All the way up in the air.
I was way up there. So going through your championship standings as we sit, Pecco Bagnaia is comfortably in the lead with 251 points to Jorge Martin's 189. Jorge Martin with that podium for the sprint race moves him up into 2nd above Marco Bezzecchi with 183. Brad Bender is trailing in 4th with 160, and Johann Zarco actually in 5th with 125. Everyone else falls down from there. Nick Patty, any comments, questions, concerns about the two-wheeled racing?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I don't know what the next race is, but I'm looking forward to it.
I can try to find out while you run through those news topics.
Sure. So, guys, we got a lot of news this week. First off, if you didn't hear, Mazda MX-5 Spec Miata Racing is going to Martinsville. Crazy, but that's happening.
Cool.
And
sick.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Bobby Labonte were testing the MX-5s at Martinsville. I believe they're both racing in the race when that happens.
I'm about it.
So I don't know if you saw it on YouTube or on Instagram, but go to Dale Jr.'s Instagram. There's onboard of Dale Jr. rowing a manual Miata around Martinsville. It's so cool.
Sick.
So that's definitely cool. Keep that on your calendar. Oh, we have some new news. Let me pull up the specific text as to the news. But AJ Foyt Racing is entering into a new partnership with Penske in IndyCar.
Okay.
They formed a technical alliance that includes engineering support and opportunities for crew and driver development. So basically, AJ Foyt Racing is becoming the AlphaTauri to Penske's Red Bull.
Got it.
So there you go.
There you go.
Porsche news that I am so freaking excited for.
Oh dear, what is this?
Lawrence Vantor is the third driver in the number 6 Porsche for Petit Le Mans. And Joseph Newgarden is your number 7 Penske Porsche third driver.
That's pretty cool.
It's going to be sick because Joseph Newgarden is an aggressive, fast driver, and I cannot wait to see him push a 963 to its limits. And it's going to be a lot more similar to an IndyCar than anything else he could go drive. So
that's going to be good. Hold up. Your boss is racing in the number 6 car or the number 5 car?
Number 5 JDC Miller Motorsports Porsche.
That's right. He's in the yellow car. Got it.
United Autosports signs Ben Keating and Alex Quinn for IMSA competition in LMP2. So if you didn't hear, United Autosports is running 2 full-time LMP2 entries in IMSA next year.
Cool.
So Alex Quinn and Ben Keating will be teammates in one of them. We have yet to hear the driver announcement for the second.
Cool.
Also, it's kind of interesting because aside from Corvette, this is the only other professional drive that Ben Keating has had. Obviously, he's a pro because he races, but pro meaning he's getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to Corvette, it was all just his funding. So that's cool for him, good for him.
Congrats.
Alex Bowman is running a special livery at Daytona. And it's a Fortnite livery.
Of course it is.
Which is weird because it has an island code on there, and apparently there's an Ally NASCAR Fortnite Island event. I don't even know this because I play Fortnite. I literally saw this through Instagram, and
I hate the internet, bro. That's what this is.
Granted, it's one of the better looking liveries, but like,
I'm sure it is, but
you need to
whatever.
Go on Instagram. Go to Alex Bowman's Instagram or Hendrick or something.
I'll go look at it.
V8 Supercars news for our Aussie fans. V8 Supercars is returning to New Zealand at, I believe, Taupo International Motorsports Park. So Aussies and Kiwis unite. Bill Vukovic, who was your 1968 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, has passed away yesterday, aged 79. Rest in peace to another driver from the Golden Age that unfortunately has left us. NASCAR Classics. This is probably the highlight of the week. I don't know if you know. Ben, do you know NASCAR Classics?
Oh, you called me.
Oh, I did. Okay, good. So NASCAR Classics is online, and there are over 1,000 original race broadcasts going all the way back to the 1950s. If you go to NASCARClassics.com, they have an entire archive. For instance, after the Glen, I was watching the 1994 Bud Shootout at the Glen with Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin and Bill Elliott, your whole cast of characters. So that's super cool. And it's free. You don't have to pay money like the F1 TV archive. And it's not on YouTube where it's kind of shoddy video quality. It is a lot of it remastered, some of it in 60 FPS.
That's so cool.
Go watch it. It's awesome. Like anything you think of, go watch.
I'm looking through right now, and that's super cool. So you can sort by year, or you can sort by track, which is super cool. But yeah, so they've got it divvied up by kind of era, which, by the way, 1948 to 1969 is a heck of an era. There was a lot of development going on in that era, especially if you look at the fact that they're racing, 49 Mercs and 49 Buicks,
miles an hour.
Right, at Daytona Beach.
The actual...
right. In 1951, and then you look at 1969 and you're like, oh yeah, Daytona, Charger Daytona.
Yeah.
Okay, one era is sand and 200 mile an hour cars in the same NASCAR. You could have split that up a bit more. But that's super cool.
I, during a slow day at work, threw on in the background because I have two work computers. So on one I was working, and on the other I had the 2000 Talladega race where Dale Earnhardt took his final win. It's awesome. And I think the coolest thing about it is NASCAR uploaded it with all the original commentary, so you get on the ground, like in the day coverage. And the other thing that's really cool about it is for anybody that grew up watching races, like people my age were going back and posting on Twitter about how they were watching Car of Tomorrow races like the first year or two.
Mm-hmm.
The commentary team, and it's the speed coverage and all this stuff. So super cool. Go check it out. Go show NASCAR some love because we need more stuff like this from other series.
Yeah, I'm staying up late watching this tonight.
Also on that topic, NASCAR is doing a Drive to Survive series about the NASCAR playoffs with Netflix, covering this year's playoffs, but the playoffs only. We'll see how that goes. I'm neither excited nor not excited. I'll just wait and see how it is when it comes out.
I don't know. These, I hate to say Drive to Survive ripoffs, but Drive to Survive was the first.
The only reason I'm not looking forward to it is because it's actually Netflix. Because NASCAR had a version of it with NPC, and it was just weird. It wasn't. But knowing it's going to be Netflix and like some of the same showrunners and producers, I'm confident that it will actually be as good as Drive to Survive. It's just a question of if somebody could not give a shit about NASCAR, it's not going to be as good. But for me, that enjoys it, I'm optimistic and eager for it.
I mean, yeah, I'll totally watch it. I really want to watch NASCAR. But my only fear is that MotoGP did something similar. They did an Amazon series. They did a Drive to Survive style Amazon series. And here's the thing, though. The Amazon series sucked. No offense, MotoGP. It was terrible. Then MotoGP went and did their own that was only available on the MotoGP streaming app if you had a MotoGP subscription. And that was actually great. It was really short, though. They covered all of last season in like 5 episodes. Like, it was real short. But to be fair, though, all they did was cover the championship battle. Like, it's not like Drive to Survive, where Drive to Survive will cover Haas for an episode. Like, no one ever mentions Tech 3 KTM at all during this thing. It's like Pecco Bagnaia and Fabio Quartararo and Alessia Spargaro. Like, that's the dudes that it follows. And then Enea Bastianini hops in there for a bit, and Jorge Martin hops in there for a bit. And they do a whole drama thing about Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini. So hopefully it works out for NASCAR.
I'm optimistic because the other thing is they're only doing playoffs. So if it goes well and if people like it, we might get more of it, but for a full season. So we'll see. Moving on, Ryan Newman last weekend won the SRX, or the Superstar Experience Championship. And if you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's a quasi-IROC rebirth with what is tube-frame sheet metal bodied NASCARs, essentially, that are a little bit smaller, different aero package on it, but they do a lot of short tracks and dirt tracks.
It's entertaining to watch.
Not as cool as IROC because there's no road courses and they're also road cars, but it's the same process, same thought.
Yeah, so, same idea.
Ryan Newman won that championship. For context, you have people like Haley Deegan, Willie T. Ribbs, Tony Stewart, Kenny Wallace, Bobby Labonte. So a lot of ex-NASCAR drivers. We have some people from other walks of life that are competing. So Ryan Newman won that championship. He said he's going to be there next year. Ben, I'm going to save this next one for last. IMSA balance of performance changes, and they've decreased the horsepower of the Aston Martin Vantage GT3 car ahead of this upcoming weekend's race at VIR. Which
is going to be good.
Ben, I can't remember. Did we cover the Jordan Taylor, all that stuff?
We did cover that.
Okay, perfect.
In the previous episode, we briefly touched on it. We do have 2 bits of Formula One-ish news.
Okay.
So there's the McLaren one, which, Nick, would you like to take the lead on?
Well, let's hear the other one, because the other one's IndyCar.
Wait. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, sorry. I was thinking Formula One just because I saw McLaren. One IndyCar bit and one Formula One bit. So the Formula One bit, if you didn't see it recently, which, by the way, this is like the least important thing I've ever seen, but it could be interesting. So if you saw recently, Max Verstappen posted a video driving his Aston Martin Valkyrie, which, for starters, very cool. Congratulations. You're one of the best drivers of all time, and you made bajillions of dollars, so you decided to spend it on a cool car, and you're actually driving it. Fantastic. I'm very happy. It's a very Max Verstappen video. He looked bored out of his mind and was in, like, shorts and flip-flops driving a carbon-tubbed Le Mans prototype down the road.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. As you do when you're Max Verstappen. Here's the problem, though, people. His cameraman wasn't very good at making sure that not everything ended up in the video. And you can see on the little dashboard Max Verstappen doing 95 kilometers an hour, and then it pans over, and there's a sign that goes by that says 55 kilometers an hour. So basically, Max Verstappen incriminated himself to speeding. And so there's, for starters, I'm assuming he will get a large fine. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Large. This is why this is bullshit. Because,
and even if he does get a large fine, I'm sure someone else will happily pay it for him.
Of course, the Europeans have a ministry cracking down on road safety where they retroactively, with social media sites, track down violators. They literally have a task force dedicated to, on social media, finding people who post them breaking the law. First of all, spend your tax dollars somewhere else, Europe. But also,
they have less taxes. So,
he's driving an AMR Pro. They don't. He's driving an AMR Pro, and or a Valkyrie, and you expect him to do 35 miles an hour?
I don't know that car can do 35 miles an hour. I think it idles at 45.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, ridiculous. Secondly, it wasn't even for speeding. It's endangering the public safety on roadways.
It was like it wasn't speeding. It was like endangering others or something.
Listen,
I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever.
Verstappen should be exempt from the law. I think you should pull him over for speeding. But if you're concerned about endangering public safety, I'm pretty sure the best driver of the generation and potentially ever driving a highly capable race car is not endangering anybody's lives.
Right.
Unless he was speeding or driving recklessly. But
if you see the video, he's like driving one-handed, like cruising through a tunnel.
Yeah. And if someone,
like, he's super chill.
If someone's like, well, speeding is endangering, okay, then just give him a ticket for speeding. But the whole, like, endangering public wealth, it's bullshit. Yeah.
Tell you what, though, it has made for a very entertaining 2 or 3 days on the internet because of all the memes of Max Verstappen, first person to win a Formula One World Championship from behind bars or whatever. It's very entertaining. It's very funny.
Well, yeah.
But heads up, internet, very sorry to disappoint. Max Verstappen is not going to jail.
Yeah.
And if he does, the bail could be $100 million, and Christian Horner will come running towards him with a briefcase full of money and throw it at whoever needs it, and he will be out. Because could you imagine if he does not win his home race because he was speeding
and
in his
Alonso,
toy?
It's his 33rd race.
33rd win in Max Verstappen's home Grand Prix, the most dominant season ever.
Imagine if Alonso's final win came because Max Verstappen was imprisoned for speeding.
That'd be hilarious, dude.
Speaking of Fernando,
Max Verstappen caught speeding in an Aston Martin.
Fernando Alonso, did you listen to the High Performance podcast that he was on?
No. I try to stay away from Fernando Alonso as much as possible.
Absolutely worth your time, because I'm not going to lie to you, this is the most open and honest I've ever seen Fernando. Like,
Interesting.
every episode, he's calm. He's the quietest one. He's super reflective, talking about his family and his mom and his dad and his family and all this stuff and his grandparents. Like, totally crazy. And he said, one of the clips that's circulating is that the time he took away from the sport in 2018 is why. So, context. Ben, would you say Fernando is a different person and a personality in the F1 paddock than he was before he retired?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the
100%.
is he said that he realized when he was actually just watching the races, all the shit that he hated in his first stint in Formula One, all the interviews, all the press gaggles, all the driver parades, all the stuff. He realized that as a spectator, watching on TV, how much value that adds. And he literally said, when he came back, he was like, he isn't just happier. He's making a conscious effort to be more available, more engaged, more.
I guess that is a weird thing, though, because current Formula One drivers
I have no idea what it's like.
Don't watch Formula One.
No.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Also, when would you? Like, you're there. You're busy.
Yeah. It's really worth listening to. The interviewers do a spectacular job asking questions. Like,
fantastic.
So I would never plug another podcast, but they did have Poppy. So
go for it.
The High Performance Podcast with Fernando Alonso. It is fantastic. Okay, last bit of news, and I wanted to save this for last because if Ben doesn't know the deets, I can share the deets. But on top of that, I want to get some of your feedback and your thoughts on this controversy.
I know surface level deets.
Okay, so if you're unaware, McLaren is very litigious. McLaren has sued Alex Palou and his racing organization. And this is the most tyrannical thing I've ever said, with the UK Commercial Court, which is like Get Some Freedom 1776. Like,
it's not their thing.
Yeah, well, let's get a load.
It's our thing.
But Alex Palou, if you don't know, is an IndyCar driver. He's the current championship leader. He's won a championship. He is
doing great.
He's a hot commodity. And he currently drives a Chip Ganassi Racing. And apparently, like 2 years ago, Alex Palou told McLaren, hey, I'd love to potentially do something with y'all. Like, that would be great. And McLaren was like, Alex, hey, listen, that's great. We'd love for you to come test an F1 car because we think you could be a potential F1 star. Alex Palou was like, say less. I'll go drive a Formula One car. Keep in mind the timeline. This is Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo McLaren lineup because I think that's important. Alex Palou does a Formula One test. It's great. Goes back to IndyCar with Chip Ganassi, wins a championship, and is now currently leading the championship.
Gonna stick it in IndyCar.
And Zach Brown said, hey, Alex Palou signed a contract with us, and for next year, 2024, he's a McLaren driver. Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou were like, what? Huh?
Hey, excuse me?
No.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where we are now. Chip Ganassi issued a press release and a statement basically saying that Alex Palou, since he came over from Spain, has been a contracted Chip Ganassi driver I think the
Yeah.
contract goes through 24, so ends starting in 25.
That's what I read.
And Chip Ganassi said, and by Chip Ganassi I mean him as a person, not the org.
Yes,
He said,
Sir Chip Ganassi.
anything that says otherwise, and McLaren said is just interference because nothing's changed. We signed him. His contract ends here. End of story.
End of story. Not worried about it until then.
Alex Palou could have gotten on his knees and begged you. It doesn't matter. He's our driver, right?
Yeah, stuck with us for a while.
So McLaren said, "Oh, but we had an agreement." Now this is the key, that because this is legal talk. There's legal terms. An agreement is a contract. And a contract is an agreement, but an agreement's not a contract. It could
Right. All contracts are agreements. All agreements are not contracts.
Right. So what I anticipate happened, because we don't have all the details, is I anticipate Alex Palou, having had no championships at the time,
Right.
have a Formula One team and an IndyCar team saying, "Hey, we'd love for you to come over and do some F1 testing with us. We might want you to be a driver." Who do they have on their lineup? Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. They're not happy with Daniel Ricciardo. From Alex Palou's seat, I could potentially have an F1 ride.
I could swoop in.
I think I'm going to go do some testing.
Yep.
So, to our knowledge, in all of that, Alex Palou has never signed in writing a McLaren contract. If he had,
Right.
Alex Palou is in legal trouble. Chip Ganassi
Yes.
isn't, McLaren isn't, but Alex Palou is.
Yes.
But to our knowledge, he hasn't. And so McLaren is in an Alpine situation where it looks like McLaren got cucked. And they're
Right.
like, "Oh, Alex, come drive our F1 cars. You could be an F1 star. Alex, please come drive with us." And Alex like, "I'll take an F1 test. Like, fuck it.
Sure, why not? Who would say no to that?
I'll say yes. Like, sure."
Yeah, whatever.
McLaren probably way too confidently thought that they were the sexiest team and
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
could ever turn them down.
Yep.
And so when Alex Palou wins a championship and now he's a hot commodity, and Chip Ganassi's like, "Thank God we got this guy
Yeah.
in." McLaren's like, "Oh, shit. Like, we had an agreement. Maybe there's a legal way that we can
Right.
wrangle some of this out, even if it was like a memorandum of understanding, not a contract."
I was like, they're scrambling. They're like, is there a piece of paper? Is there a napkin? Is there an email? Is there a
His
something?
name on a cocktail napkin, that counts.
Right.
So anyway, that's where we are, but it was just today that McLaren filed, today being the 22nd.
Yes.
So obviously when this airs tomorrow, whatever, that's old news, but that is both F1 news, but also IndyCar news. Not that a legal challenge with Alex Palou will change anything in the IndyCar championship. However, let's say Alex Palou wins this championship this year. That's 2 consecutive championships with Chip Ganassi. What happens if somehow he's legally obligated to leave Chip Ganassi and go to McLaren on a streak of championships with the best team in IndyCar?
Right.
So keep that in your hat, put it in your pocket, wherever you want to keep it. But that will be a developing story that we'll be covering.
Right. More news possibly to come.
Yeah. Oh, well, it definitely will come. It's just a question of when.
Right.
So anyway, that's my long-winded summary of the news.
That was indeed the news, and that was indeed the last thing we had on our docket for episode 68 of The Clutch Dump. Like Nick said at the top of the show, make sure you follow us on the gram at The Clutch Dump. Whatever audio platform you're listening to this on, make sure you follow or subscribe. Whatever you can do, leave a rating and a review, whichever you can. It helps us out a lot. If you're on the YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like and share the video. It helps us grow and find a bigger audience. Comment down below what you think of the news and anything else you think we should cover, anything you think we missed. But that's going to do it from us here. We will see you next time for episode 69 of The Clutch Dump. See ya.